Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're joining me. I'm Dale from Living an Empty Nest. And today I was recording a video that I've gotten some feedback about. When I shared this idea, I've gotten some feedback that you all really think it would be a fun video. So what I'm going to share today are some tips, some things to think about for working from home efficiently. If you want to hear my thoughts, then keep watching. Many of you know I do work from home if I'm not out on the road traveling. So I travel from 2 to 3 times a month. And if not, then I'm at home in my office typically, or behind my laptop, participating in virtual meetings, working, and so forth. And I've been doing this in various capacities for about 5 years. And it is different. And I've had to figure out exactly what makes me efficient doing this. And a couple of things that have cropped up over the years as my life has changed that I've had to tinker with this. So I put together, and let's see, I think I have a total of 8 tips, things I think we need to think about and talk about. So, number one of the first things I suggest is really to set that schedule. So know when you're going to work and when you're going to stop working. You want to really have it mirror more or less what you need to do for your hours. So if you need to work 20 hours a week, make your schedule based on that. If you work 40 hours, based on that. If you work 60 hours, figure that out, that part there. But one of the big things here that I've learned is that you have to know I have to be behind my desk or computer screen at this time. So you can't just lazily linger around, get ready, and then get behind your computer to do work. When I did that initially, way back when I first started working, I found that sometimes I didn't get to sit behind my laptop until like 11 o'clock in the morning. The next thing I knew it was lunchtime, and you can fill in the rest there. So the idea is you really have to know I'm waking up at this time, I'm doing this, I'm drinking my coffee, I'm working out, and I'm getting behind my computer. Or I get behind my computer and I work for a little bit and then I go work out. But the idea is set a schedule. It can vary per day, but the idea is you know when you're anticipating starting work and when you're ending. And some of that might be dictated, but I know I have a call at 8:30 and I know I need at least half an hour before then to answer emails and to prep for that call. But the idea is set a schedule. Just don't let it free float there. Along with that piece too is make sure you really get up and get dressed and you're not just staying in pajamas all day. I know that sounds silly to say that, but it changes your perspective because take and treat your work seriously, professionally. I think that's a common theme I want to put out here too, is that you are working. Think about this as a profession and you have to put forward the professional front. And that means not being in your pajamas all day. Just a hint. Number 2, let your family, friends, significant others aware of your work. Knowing that, yes, and sometimes it's hard for people to understand because they forget that you're home, but you're working. You have responsibilities, you have obligations, you might be participating in virtual meetings. So make sure that everyone fully understands and knows that. You also might have to make sure that your schedule is transparent so that if you're in certain meetings, or if you've got a project done, they can't just come and knock on your door if you close your door. You might have to think about some kind of a way of sharing your calendar with them. You might have to have some kind of a sign. So for example, when I used to do some distance ed teaching classes and I was online in the evening when my family was all home, they would forget which day of the week it was, which class, and they'd see the office door closed. That I had to make sure that on the other side I had a little sign that I would put up saying teaching do not disturb or something along that line so that they knew they couldn't just knock on the door and come in. Some kind of an indicator that way, whether it's got kind of a little system there too. In my current office now, which I love, I'm not filming there right now. Originally I was going to film down there, but I was up here. Anyway, long story. I do have French doors, glass on the side, so people can come by and see that I am actually, engaged in something, or I just don't make eye contact if I'm in a crunch timeline type thing. Now the flip side of the glass is that the dogs see I'm there. So they easily come by and sometimes they scratch on there. A whole nother story. But the big piece here is so that you set those expectations for your family members so that they know they just can't say, oh, by the way, can you make this phone call when you're there, when you're at home today? You might be able to, but the idea is you are working during those time periods. Also set the expectations for yourself. Along with that is make sure that you, if possible. I know this isn't going to be possible for everyone, and it wasn't always possible for me. Set your separate space. Make your office be your office, not also where you sit to watch television, not also where you eat family dinner. Again, I understand this isn't possible for everyone, but if you can. One of the other things that I learned and I thought was really helpful was when I actually created my current home right now, my office is in the front of the house, as opposed to my previous home where it was in the back of the house. So at night we would sit and watch television and I could see my office. It's hard to leave your work there. But the really important piece is that you have all your pieces there, you have everything there. It also makes starting your day easier because you don't have to, okay, here's my laptop here, I've got to get this, all these pieces of paper there. So set up a separate office as possible. Not to say that you can't move around throughout the day. That is another critical piece. If you need to get out of the office, you might want to go. Sometimes I've sat outside if I'm not on a virtual meeting. Sometimes I sit in the living room on the couch because I have something different that I'm doing. But the idea is you have an office and it's separate. The other little tiny piece that I set up there too, and this is just a whole aside thing that even if you don't work from home, I love having separate emails. So I have on my phone, I have my mail app, and then I have Outlook for my work emails. That's just that nice separation there. Number 4, remember you're working. Set up your professional front as well too. That includes thinking about where, especially if you're conducting virtual meetings or phone calls, thinking about knowing that you aren't going to have dogs barking, hopefully, in the background. I live with that. I understand that. So you might want, I have a white noise machine. If I know it's a very critical webinar or call or meeting, I will turn my white noise machine on. You never know when the UPS man is going to come up to the door and ring the doorbell, or the dogs are going to hear that. Or no, it doesn't totally erase any dog barking sound, but it really does dissipate it quite well. So I just have it's very inexpensive white noise machine. I'll try and find some links to paste down below that I will put on to be able to have that, and it works really, really well. Other piece, make sure to think about how you're being presented too from the chest up. Yeah, you could potentially have sweatpants on, but think about what you're showing, especially if you're doing virtual meetings, what your top is. You might not want just a torn workout shirt on if you're having a professional meeting. Think about that piece. Same thing, you might not want your hair totally be messed. How would you go into the office? Would you go into, and that's always kind of my key thing if I know it's a critical virtual meeting, would I go in to the office looking like this or into an in-person meeting looking like this? Tied to that, think about your background. Now again, I'm not in my office right now, but I have a whiteboard behind me usually. I have to remember that when I have that whiteboard up there, it's great, and I have that there because if I have to draw on the whiteboard, that's great when we're sharing video. But the other piece is there, think about what I have left written there. So I want to make sure that there's nothing like, every now and then, like my kids, when they were living at home, they would come in, they would write me notes on the whiteboard. I had to make sure there was nothing, So again, think about that. But think about the background piece there. You might not want to be conducting important virtual meetings in the kitchen or the living room, or if you, again, think about all those pieces there. Likewise, think about animals like cats crawling through here. I have some meetings that are more casual and we're always seeing each other's cats and dogs, and that's not a problem. But if you're in a very serious meeting and it's a very professional one that you're trying to portray yourself is, showing that you can work from home, you might want to make sure you don't have the cat crawling across there. Along with that too, think about setting up your office. Think about the things you need, like headphones. You might not want to be doing your virtual meetings or phone calls just on a speaker. So think about the right kind of headphones that you want that will actually work. I have like AirPods, Apple ones, whichever ones those are. What I found is those work really nicely, except they don't, if I have like 5 meetings across a day, they will not make a charge throughout all those hours. So think about that. Similar, if you're doing some of your calls through your phone, do you have an adapter right there to be able to keep charging your phone? The worst thing is to be on an important call and then your battery be dying. So think ahead to all of those kind of pieces there. So number 5, get out. I know I just went through talking all about having a professional background looking, but you know what the other thing is, working from home can be very isolating. So make sure that you also schedule those times to get out sometimes. You know, if you don't have virtual calls, maybe work at like a Starbucks or a Panera, some of my favorites there. Find a place where there's an outlet and do work there. I would caution doing calls or virtual meetings in some of those locations because sometimes the Wi-Fi is not strong enough to be able to get a really good signal there, and sometimes the background noise. So that's one thing to think about. But make sure you get out sometimes. Schedule quick lunches with friends. The social interaction sometimes is really critical. I found that now that both of my kids are off at college and grad school, I don't have other people around talking. So sometimes the only thing I'm doing is talking virtually to people, and I don't have any other social interactions. I'm not bringing the kids like to swim practice or to softball practice and having other, side conversations with people. So it's really important to make sure that you can get out to have those other kind of conversations in person rather than just phone calls and virtual meetings. There is a difference there. So even if that means that you're going out and quickly going to the post office, schedule those times and those breaks to be able to get out. Quick little errands like that. I'm not saying going out for a 2-hour lunch unless that works for your schedule, but the idea of make sure you schedule in those times to be able to get out of your house as well too, and avoid that kind of isolation piece. One other little piece that I found that's been important for me now is I make sure that one of my workouts during the week is going to a class. I'm around other people. I'm getting a little more social interaction there. So think about those ways that you can build in the social interaction if you're working from home and you don't have that, and just to make sure you're not getting that isolation feeling. So number 6 is focus. Make sure that you can remain focused. Sometimes that might mean that you're shutting down your Facebook, you're shutting down your personal email, you're shutting down whatever might distract you from doing your work. If you've got something very intense, timeline driven that you have to get done, I typically will shut everything off of my laptop. You know how you can put the do not disturb thing on? Perfect. Have your phone by the side on vibrate, just if an emergency text comes in or call. But the idea is that you are focused, because we don't want to get distracted. The idea of working from home also is that you can do it and be focused and get the same or higher level of productivity than if you were in an office. So that might mean signing out of all your social media accounts. If you have a work laptop and a personal laptop, maybe on your work laptop you don't even have any of those signed on there at all. Just a thought to be able to think about. How can you make sure that the work you're doing at home is professional and productive? Item number 7, I just talked about being focused. The flip side of that, make sure you take breaks. It's one of the things I've found that helps me a lot more working from home than in an office is that I actually do take a little more frequent breaks. I'm putting a load of laundry in, so I know that in 30-35 minutes I will get up and switch that to the dryer. I will come back here. The idea is that I found that when I take those short breaks, and I mean 5-minute breaks, every hour and a half or every 2 hours or whenever I need to give into the intensity of the work that I've been doing or the calls that I have, I end up coming back and being refreshed. So make sure that you're not just sitting in front of your laptop for 4.5 hours straight. Take those little breaks where you can, just like little breathers. You would do that more often in an office also. You'd get up and walk to the bathroom, you'd probably pass by, say hi to someone walking back. Make sure you're scheduling that time for yourself too. You'll find that you'll come back a little more refreshed. And number 8, take care of yourself. That might mean making sure that you have little ways of keeping you motivated. You won't maybe necessarily have someone there, pumping you up when you need those extra boosts, encouraging you. Do what you need to do to be able to take care of yourself. Little things like make sure that if you've got back-to-back meetings. I have sometimes had meetings from 9 o'clock in the morning until 4 o'clock in the afternoon with no definite breaks in between. Again, you know that you get sometimes a little 5 minutes here or something like that. But the idea here is make sure that you have food for yourself, snacks. I have a snack drawer that I keep in my office filled with just little snacks that I can grab quickly in between meetings if I need to. If I know I have one of those long days and I might only have a quick little break, or at one of the meetings is more informal and I can eat my lunch during it, I have my lunchbox packed, just like what I would do at work. And I have my lunch sitting by my side, so when it's necessary, I can go ahead and eat my lunch quietly, of course, muted, you know what I mean there. But the idea is make sure you think about your day and you take care of yourself so that you're not caught with one of those long stretches of meetings. and starving. So I hope that this has been helpful, and if anyone else has some tips or some thoughts, please share them, because this is definitely something, as we're getting more virtual offices or as you're starting your own businesses, we're having more times of working from home. And I found that for me, I am much more productive working from home than I am in the time of going to an office, even from the time that I'm not traveling, I'm not getting stuck in traffic. And the idea that if you can be flexible, sometimes if you take 3 hours off on a Wednesday, but you work 3 hours longer on another day or on the weekend, all those kinds of things are wonderful things, but we have to make sure that we're remaining productive, that we're remaining professional, and that we're keeping ourselves positive while we're doing this. So I hope that this has been helpful. If you like this kind of video, let me know. I'd be glad to share other tips, travel tips, other things like that. Let me know what your thoughts are. Go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Leave feedback, comments. I love building our community and thinking about how we can all go through life together here. So also I would suggest is to hit the notification bell, because as much as I try to upload at least once a week, I'm not going to be on a consistent basis, also because I'm working and I'm traveling. So having the notification bell, I think, would be a lot more helpful, so that you know when I do upload something new. So again, I hope that that's been helpful for everyone. Did you hear my cat in the background? Yep, I know. I look forward to hearing your comments and your thoughts, and have a great day. Bye.